Giant show today here on Toro Talk. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Josh Mair, Alex Allman. But Josh, you know how we start every show.
Vamos Toros, baby.
Welcome, everyone, to Toro Talk, the home of the San Antonio Toros, their podcast. We're joined by Josh Mair, the managing partner. Wait a minute. Before I go further, we're going by Joshua now? Because I always knew you as Josh. Like you're in my phone as Brahma Josh.
It has to be a full name now because, being team president, you can't use your high school, middle school the shortening of your name. You got to use the full name. You know what I mean?
I get it. And Alex Allman's here. Thanks for showing up, Alex.
Yeah, same name as last week.
Yeah. There we go. All right, we want to bring Josh down because, Josh, how many more days? I know you got the countdown in your head.
Oh, I don't know. It's like 30. It's
30.
Close.
Yeah. It's coming real fast, right? You got a lot going on?
Real fast, but it can't get here soon enough.
Well, the big event of the offseason is Join the Stampede. Josh, I know you talked about this. You told us to promote this. You told us to talk about this. This is the event for the offseason, right? This is the one you want to see, right?
This is the one that all the other events are leading up to. We want this to be our biggest event of the season. Before I go too far into it, I just want to first take the opportunity to tell both you, Webb, I guess I should call you Brian Webster now, and Alex, we used to call him Coach back on our UFM days, that you guys are doing a fantastic job. We're very, very grateful and excited you guys decided to take this ride with us to be our official podcast for the San Antonio Toros, for Toro Talk. You guys are doing awesome. Getting way more views than I ever got. So I don't know, maybe if it's the wisdom of Alex or that beautiful, beautiful hairdo of Webb. But either way, you guys are doing an amazing job. But yeah, we want this event to be our biggest and best event. Everything else we want to kind of culminate here. This is our /pep rally / uniform reveal / join the Stampede. The Join the Stampede is really what we've been pushing here locally. We want everybody in the San Antonio community to know that this is the official spot. This is our last big hoorah before the season starts because, we got players reporting just a few weeks after this. And a lot of my team, a lot of the marketing team, client relations, all of my support staff are going to go straight from off-season activities to literally season activities and game day, and we are going to be busy. So if you ever wanted to have a chance to talk to any of us one-on-one, this is going to be your event because by the next time we see you, we're going to be pretty darn busy.
So you talk about, first of all, thank you for the kind words because it's tough working with Alex every single week. I just want to let you know. It's tough. It's tough scheduling with his busy schedule, the world traveler. So you talked about the uniform reveal. Like you guys done with it?
We're done. I got the pictures of the final uniforms going in the boxes and getting put in the mail just, in the last couple of days. So I've seen the actual uniforms and they are just fantastic.
That's awesome. What else is going on? I know you said the Matadors is going to be there. What about the Wii Funder? You want to talk about the Wii Funder before we get too deep into this? Because I know a little bit, Alex knows a little bit, but we need to hear from you.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have some information there at the event. And, we're going to have a lot of our vendors, a lot of our partners, anybody you've seen us announce or currently on our website as a partner, they'll have the opportunity to be there as well. So we're going to have partners there set up in their booths, doing cross promotion and also giving away free swag. We're going to have prizes that we're going to give away and all that stuff. We're going to take 2, maybe 3 minutes to tell everybody in the room what Wii Funder is and kind of talk about that. And, there's a lot of questions. We're doing something that's new and unique, especially in the world of professional football. We have been told by Wii Funder with just in the last week or so that we have actually set the record for public funding, public ownership for any professional football team in the history of their existence. And if anybody's had the opportunity to look at Wii Funder, there's so many different teams on there, 100 plus, maybe more. I don't even know whether it's soccer, men's, women's soccer's stadium. There's just so many different professional sports organizations that utilize a Wii Funder. We do have a helmet partner coming on board that is going to be used throughout the season, obviously for us. And this company actually used WeFunder to get started as well. So we got a helmet company with some very well-known people backing it. That's information's coming out later. But and then so we're also using the same platform. So it's just neat to see this commingling and how all these things kind of work together. And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, so to speak, where you just happen to find out that the people that really want to partner with you in certain aspects are also familiar with your business model because they did the same thing. So it's just neat to see all this stuff come together.
That's awesome, man. That's like, I'm excited for you. Watching from afar, as you know, I'm in South Georgia. Alex is up in Pennsylvania. But to watch you guys have done this perfectly. And I'm not kissing your butt because you're here and you're the boss. I'm not doing anything. But like, you made me a fan before we started doing this podcast. And it's not because I like you and I like Ace and I like the other owners. It's more just the transparency. Like, you even released a text message in the last 24 hours of the first trade in the Continental Football League. Like, you're that transparent where, like, you see the owners' names all right there, and it's going back and forth. It's just awesome, and I got to tip my hat to you.
Yeah, I did get permission before I did that. I asked them if it was okay.
I'm surprised you got permission. I'm be honest with you. I'm surprised you got permission.
Well, the only one I'm worried about, Quincy and with the Syndicate and Justin with the Fort Worth Braves. I'm not really too worried about those guys. But Mr. Norman, I like to refer to him up there with Tall City Black Gold, he's a big guy, and I don't want to upset him too much. So he was really the one I needed the green light from. While
we're talking about the other teams, before Alex jumps in here, who's the biggest rival for San Antonio Toros? Is it all of them? Is it? I'm talking out of the Texas division, the South division.
Yeah, we have little things with every one of them. We want to beat the Texas Syndicate by the largest margin, obviously, just because San Antonio, Austin, they're weird. We're not. We have better breakfast tacos than they do, and Austin's just, they built an entire tollway so that people going from San Antonio to Dallas can avoid Austin. So we're not even making that up, dude. We do not like Austin down here in San Antonio. They're so weird, man. So we definitely want to beat them by the largest margin. We think the Tall City Black Gold, with their staff and their players, everybody's got rosters that we've seen. Tall City Black Gold is going to be one of those teams that we're going to keep a close eye on, especially because of the experience of their ownership group and what they've been doing. Both of the Normans, Josh and John, both played D1 ball. John for Texas Tech and Josh with Oklahoma, and so these guys know ball, and they own whole youth leagues, and they run youth leagues, and also an oil company. I don't know if you could tell by their name, but they're businessmen with a lot of resources and knowledge and players in their hip pocket. So we're going to watch them. And then Justin Fort Worth, man, he's great. He's kind of he might not like me saying this, but he's kind of like he's one of those guys that you tell him one time and he learns it and he goes forward and he does it, and he probably does it better than everybody else. But I kind of look to him as almost my cousin, or like my stepbrother type deal, where I'm going to mess with them, but if someone else starts messing with them, they're going to have to deal with me kind of deal. So I really like Justin up there at Fort Worth. So he's kind of in between the two of the teams, but we want to beat Austin by like a lot of points.
Of course you do. He's spoken like a true Aggie. He's spoken like a
of course.
Yeah. Alex, you got any questions before we jump into the real hard-hitting question?
I just want to second Josh, what Webb said about like all the hard work you guys have put in to get to this far. And, I think for me, it's truly about making history, taking the history that's already there from the Toros and, what you're doing to, sort of embrace that history and what we're creating now. And I think it's one of those things, Josh, I think that we'll all look at. Like 2-a-day football practice, you don't realize what you went through, how hard it was when you're going through it. But then when you look back on it, it was actually fun. And I think, that's where we are with this too, to think that, for the first time, fans are going to see 3 quarters of American football in a fourth quarter with Canadian rules. I mean, that's just so cutting edge. And I don't think even we can appreciate now what we're getting ready to see here in a few weeks. That's all fantastic. And I just second, when I look at the teams in sort of that Texas league of the Continental Football League, if you will, kind of play back on 50 years ago, I'd say that the Syndicate, that Austin team, is the team that, I think is going to make a nice rivalry. And I think it's probably because the folks in Austin may have a little bit of a little brother syndrome, and that we have a better college football team here in San Antonio than they do in Austin. So I'll just leave it at that.
You can tell Alex went to Rice.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. I told you we weren't going to prep you with these questions. We want real answers from you. We want legitimately real answers, authentic answers. But I want to start with the why factor first, because owning a professional sports team is often described as like a labor of love rather than a straightforward investment, especially when you're starting from like the ground up. What's a specific moment or realization that you made when you decided San Antonio needed the Toros, and how has that why evolved since day one?
Yeah, so I've known my whole life, obviously I'm born and raised in San Antonio, and my whole life I've always been a little, I don't know if confrontational is the word, or agitated is the word, or just straight up disappointed or upset. One of those words would definitely describe it, or a combination of all of them, that we didn't have professional football here. And we've had so many people try, so many organizations try in the past, and it didn't quite work out for various reasons. So that, that was the driving factor. The catalyst that made it start was, a phone call. I got reached out to by Manny. Obviously, everyone knows he's the owner of Continental Football League, and I was doing stuff for the Brahmas media related wise, and he gave me a call, and it was like I thought he was calling because I'd already done some coverage of the Texas Syndicate. They were the first team announced, so I was already had Quincy on the podcast and offered to help him any way that I could, just because it was the closest professional football to San Antonio at the time, and he kind of called me up, and I thought, okay, well, at least I can get an in with media, so to speak, and fill my time with the other team being pulled out of here in the manner in which they were. So, and it took about 2 hours of conversation for me to realize he wasn't calling me about the media. He was calling me about seeing if we could put together an organization down here in San Antonio. And the rest is history. It's kind of how it all started. It was never a dream of mine to own a football team. I really just was always, my dream was to be a fan of professional football in the city that I lived in. And that was my dream and always has been. So that's why I supported every organization I could from the time I was old enough to have a paycheck and decide what I could do with my own money, and went to whatever organization was in the San Antonio area. And that's always been the dream. And the fan ownership opportunity, the part of the community opportunity, and then maybe the opportunity to show other people that San Antonio is not just a market to be disrespected. We're gonna, we deserve to be treated like the great city that we are, and our fans deserve professional outdoor football.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. How about the Continental Football League obviously operates in a different ecosystem than the NFL or even the UFL. What's a win for the Toros off the field that the average fan really can't understand right now?
Like one that's happened is what you're asking me?
Well, one that happened, or maybe a goal for you guys this year or anything like that.
Yeah.
Where like it's not like, obviously you want to win a championship. I get that. But I'm talking about off the field. What's something that an average fan, like, this would be a win for us? Butts and seats. I know you're going to say that.
Well, I've been a butts and seats supporter. Butts and seats matter has been my slogan for 3 years. But the buy-in from corporate partners, and especially the buy-in from local media so far, and also the buy-in from all of the former players. Like, man, every day I have a conversation with some former player, some media person or something that just, they're like, dude, we love what you're doing and we want to be part of it. How can we help? Like, everybody's asking, how can we help? Not, what can you do for me? And it's just amazing. I'll give you one quick story, dude. This literally just happened Thursday, so a couple of days before recording this. A guy that I've known for 15 years that was a vendor for me. I didn't know that he played professional football. Turns out he played for the San Antonio Toros. He saw a local article that was written about us from a writer who used to go to the games as a kid with his father. And so he wrote a nice piece about us. And that's how this guy found out that I was involved with the Toros. He calls me up and we had this great conversation. He says, well, I got to go. I'm walking into my attorney's office. I got some business I'm doing. I said, hey, speaking of attorney, I've been kind of looking for a corporate law guy to do some paperwork for me down here in San Antonio. We're getting real big and a lot of crazy things are happening and numbers are starting to get a lot of zeros on it. And so we have to make sure we got a lot of I's dotted and T's crossed. So I said, man, I need a lawyer. Is your guy pretty good? He says, I'll tell you something else. This lawyer was the field goal kicker for the Toros. I said, you got to be kidding me. So then this guy owns a law firm. He's got a corporate law guy working for him. He was the kicker for the Toros from England, came over here. You know, we could talk for hours about the guy's story. I couldn't let him off the phone. I talked to him so much. But now we're going to have a law firm who's owned by a former field goal kicker for the San Antonio Toros, all based upon an article that a guy wrote because he went to the game with his father. And I could tell you that happens twice a week down there, and it's just nobody could have ever done that. I've said this a couple of times to people in private. You know, I was the biggest Brahmas and Commander supporter for those two leagues that you would have ever found. And I probably would still support the team if the guy who bought that league wasn't such a jerk. But none of those organizations had the opportunity to have former players living in the city that are now successful business owners and can support the team in other ways. They just don't have the legacy of the Toros. We got people in the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame that were inducted into the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame because of their time playing for the Toros. The legacy is something that just no one else has and no one else has had because they didn't bring the Toros back. You know what I mean? So that stuff happens all the time. And if you ask me what is the biggest win, the biggest win is the legacy that the Toros left for us. 85-15 all-time win-loss record. And it's a lot to live up to, and we're excited about it.
That's awesome.
You gave him these questions ahead of time. He's smoking these. That's perfect.
No, man. I live and breathe the answers to these questions.
Well, that last question around the legacy of the Toros, that's one of the things I love, being a football historian, you know, really loving the old leagues that have come and gone. Webb gives me a hard time about that, but you know, I think that's an advantage.
It's not that I'm not criticizing your love for old leagues. It's the fact that you're old. It has nothing to do with like you remember those leagues. Me and Josh, we look back on it and we learn as like students. You remember the moments.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Well, you know, it's funny because like the way that you guys have really gone in to embrace that history is fantastic. And I think that's an advantage you have. That's where I was going with this, that other leagues that maybe have been here from the UFL, the AAF, and other leagues, they don't have that. You know, they can refer to it, but I mean, you actually have a tie directly back to a successful franchise that was here, you know, what now, 60 years ago almost, right? So, you know, it's incredible. And you guys have done a great job not letting that advantage slip away. You know, you're really maximizing that.
Yeah. Our bull logo is based in legacy, not based upon some wrestler's nickname.
Ooh.
All right. On that note, we will go to South Texas Spine and Surgical, an important partner with Josh and the Toros.
South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital and Outpatient Center is named one of the top 5 hospitals in the state of Texas for joint procedures. Our integrated approach ensures a smooth journey from diagnosis to recovery. We are a tradition of excellence and a legacy of caring.
Welcome back to Toro Talk. That was South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital. Josh, business partners, how did you make those ties so quickly? Because it seemed like you got South Texas Spine and Surgical Complete Care, and you've got a list of them. I know you got more coming out. Like, how did you make that so quickly happen? Because the other teams, and this is no disrespect to the other teams, it doesn't seem like they have as much support as you guys do, like so quickly from the community. How did you make those inroads so quickly?
Yeah, it's the same thing, you know, better to be lucky than good. I might say that a whole bunch of times, who knows with these questions, but early on, I'm talking 3 or 4 weeks of owning the franchise. I said, you know, one of the things I got to figure out is TV production. And I knew that the league, you know, we're independently owned and we're locally operated. That's another huge difference than us from other teams. We're the closest thing to an NFL style football league that has ever existed here in San Antonio, because we don't have, you know, corporations headquartered out of city. This is us. We're here. I'm sitting 10 miles from the Alamo Dome right now. But so the thing is I started looking real quick. I said, I don't want to be caught getting close to the start of the season, because, you know, we started this in October. We're playing football in May, and there's not a lot of time there. And I knew that those people that do TV production type work are busy folks. And so because I'm from here and local, there's a production company, Texas Sports Production, They produce tons of high school football games. They do a great job. They got a great app. If anybody gets a chance to go look at it, these guys have also, they do ESPN level production all the way down to high school level production. It's amazing. So I cold called them. I said, hey, my name's Josh. I bought a football team. We need to talk. And the guy's named Jay Riley. I'll give you a quick history on him. He's been instrumental in a lot of what we're doing here without ever knowing it, because when we had that first meeting, he brought a team with him, right? Well, it turns out everybody that was there on that team are now involved either in the league or with my organization in some way, shape, form, or fashion. If you saw just this past week, the Texas Syndicate announced their play-by-play guy is a gentleman by the name of Gabe. He was at the first meeting. Jay Riley and his wife, who run their portion of Texas Sports Production, were at the meeting. And they also brought on my director of client relations, Jen Bonomo, and we call her Super Jen. That's literally her nickname. We call her down here. She is a force of nature all to herself. And we just had a meeting, and we sat down and just started talking. And she started asking me questions that not only did I not know the answers to, but I didn't even know there were questions that I needed to be asking. And so while I'm sitting there, and it's me and my partner, Robert Smith, and my other partner, James Kreiner, we were sitting there, just soaking it all in with the goal of talking about TV production. And I'm texting Robert, down under the table kind of deal, like, hey, dude, we got to talk to this Jen lady when this meeting is over, because she's just asking some of the smartest, most intelligent questions. You could tell she had experience in the business of professional sports management in one way or another. And so after that meeting, I caught her in the parking lot, so to speak, talked for another hour, and lo and behold, we brought her on. We negotiated with her. She was a very stern negotiator. I call her a shark, dude. This lady is something else. And we got her on board, brought her on board in January. She's been nothing but beneficial for the organization. So you ask how we got these corporate partners. She's been selling partnerships for professional sports organization in San Antonio for years. Nice. And so immediately what happened is, instead of me sending 25 emails, cold calling people, and I had to do to introduce them to me, I know people are going to, I'm confident in myself that once you get to know me, you're going to be willing to work with me because of my reputation and my knowledge and my work ethic and who I am. I'm not really worried about that. But what she was able to do, she had already had all those things answered with the people we were calling. She already had the numbers, already knew on a first name basis. She's been working with them for many years. And so when she brings me in and says, this is a new football team, I have vetted them, because she wouldn't come work for us until she vetted us, and we had to jump through some hoops because she wasn't going to tie her name to something that she didn't think was going to be successful, to her credit. And it's just been amazing. And so when you say how we were able to get involved with all these corporate partners so quickly, it's because she had been working with them for years. We were able to get her to join us, and she sees the benefit and the value in what we're doing. And we've already been so successful that now other people are taking notice and want to come join the ship, so to speak. And if you guys think some of the partners we've announced so far are amazing, there's more to come. And we'll talk about the two tied into this podcast. South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital. We have signed, I won't give all the details because I don't want to upset South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital, but let's just say our deal with that partner is for 3 years. So we don't have a 1-year deal. We have a 3-year deal. What does that mean to the layman? We have a corporate partner for 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Are the Toros going to be here next year? Well, we have a corporate partner that says we are, right? Complete Care. They do so many events in the area. They're out there every day, 3, 4, 5 events a week, pushing Complete Care. We've already had our team and coaches at their facilities, both of these partners in our podcast at the facility. And they were direct results of Jen. Complete Care is amazing. Got 3 locations here in San Antonio, and they've just been a great partner with us so far. We can't wait to see all the exciting things. There's so many things that are going to happen during the game days and throughout the year. It's going to be amazing, and we can't thank either one of them enough. And it's no coincidence that they're both medical, right? Because the game that this is and what type of activity these guys are going to be part of, that is one of our most important things, is their health, their safety, and being able to keep them in playing condition, right? So yeah, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see we got a couple of healthcare providers on board to help us real quick. So, yeah, and you can compound that on all of our partners. We've got many more to come. I think probably by the time we get to the season, if I had to put a number out there, we're expecting 25, maybe 30 different partnerships in one way or another with different entities in and around San Antonio. And let me tell you right now, every football game I've been to in the Alamo Dome, other than maybe UTSA, so you guys can do the math on who I'm talking about, I didn't see 30 partners inside that stadium.
Josh coming in hot. All right, let's talk some football. We talked about the grind as a business owner. I know Alex has been chopping on the bit here with the football, but I'm going to ask one question real quick. Define the Toro culture, right? When you're hiring a coach or you're scouting a player, what's the one non-negotiable trait that the player or the coach or anyone that's part that has to have to be a part of this organization?
Well, first of all, I cannot speak to the players because me and what I do and what our managing partners do, we do not have any say-so on the players, and that is by design. That is strictly a coaching decision. Now, I can tell you when we looked for coaches, the first thing I looked for was legitimacy. Okay, I needed some coaches that had experience not only with NFL football, but maybe collegiate football and definitely Canadian football because of the rule shift. And so that was the first thing I'll look for before I send anybody a contract. What experience do you have, and are you viewed in the world of professional football as a professional football coach? And so we've kind of used that as our guiding principle. And of course, Stan Bedwell has been instrumental in all of that. I don't know how everybody knows, but I had a relationship with Stan Bedwell for like 2 or 3 years before this endeavor even happened. And it wasn't like, it was just, it started like anything else organically on social media. And next thing you know, we're talking about stuff. And I'll give you a little behind the scenes. He was the first coach that I talked to about being my head coach. I don't know if I've covered that on podcasts or not in the past, but I reached out to him early on and he said, no, I'm going to stay up in Ohio with the Ironman with Manny. We had a good season last year. I'm going to stay up here, so on and so forth. And I said, okay, well, I appreciate that. Being honest with me. He says, but we'll see each other on the field, so to speak. And then we talked to Ronnie Vinklaric. He's a South Texas guy. He's now coaching with Columbus Aviators up there in the UFL. But when I talked to him, I got his contact information from Commissioner Kelly with the league. He said, hey, call Ronnie. He's a good dude. That's the way his stuff all works, right? So I talked to Ronnie. He came on board. Ronnie told me, hey, I only have one stipulation. Stan Bedwell is going to be my offensive coordinator. And I said, okay. I didn't tell Ronnie right then and there that I had already recruited Stan Bedwell and kind of got told he wanted to stay up there in the north, so to speak. And a couple of days go by, Ronnie calls me up. He's like, hey, Stan Bedwell's in. So then I text Bedwell. I'm like, hey, what's going on, dude? He's like, hey, Ronnie's a good guy, and I want to come down there. And then Ronnie got the opportunity with Columbus Aviators, and we wholeheartedly supported him taking that opportunity. It wasn't just for Ronnie. It was for Ronnie and his family. If his family hadn't been so involved in the deal that they offered to get him up there, he would probably still be here. And, he was very apologetic, and he knew us starting something new from the ground up. And with our head coach coming on for a month or two and then stepping away, it might look bad for us. And he was, there was 3 or 4 phone conversations, and he didn't take the first offer. I think it was the third offer they gave him to go up there. They sweetened the deal so much that he had to take it. And when he called me the last time, I said, dude, you're crazy if you don't go take that. I'm going to go take that job if you don't go take that job. So he wound up going up there. I called up Stan. I'm like, well, Ronnie's leaving. So guess what? He's like, yeah, I'm in. I said, great. I said, we finally got where I wanted to be when I called you 3 months ago. So let's get this thing done.
That's awesome. Alex, you got anything before I ask the hard-hitting question about the roster?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, the coaching staff's impressive. And I mean, you've got head Division I football coaches on your staff. You've got guys with the Canadian experience, obviously Jerry Glanville, anybody that knows anything about the NFL. And, it's amazing how long this guy has been in football, one, how successful he's been, but then he's sort of in that point in his life where he likes paying it forward and helping the kids. And, in his interview, he said, hey, if I help one kid, it makes it all worth it when he's out doing some of these, camps and advising and whatnot. So tip of the cap there. But you have put together a really impressive coaching staff. The one thing I do want to point out, though, Webb, before we get deeper into the roster is, I also think you've got to put a good product on the field. And when you look at, what we're bringing in, what this roster is shaping up to be within our brand of football, air raid football and offense, it's attacking, it's aggressive, it's the ball on display. It's, all those exciting things. On defense, we know Jerry Glanville, we know, what he's going to bring, what they're going to be able to put together as a defensive staff. The product's going to be exciting and fun to watch too. So you guys have done a great job. And, as Webb and I are going through covering position group by position group, there's a lot of talent on this roster, and the roster sort of fits that philosophy, offensively and defensively. You can tell it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Kind of tie it in together. So my last question was really the Toros are the Continental Football League is kind of a bridge league, right? Like they're going on to something else above this, either the CFL, the NFL, the UFL. How do you balance? And I know you say you don't deal with the player personnel, but what's the organizational goal? Balance the goal of winning championships for San Antonio, where with the reality that your best players and should be taken away, right, to go to the next level. Like that's the goal. So like how can fans get invested into it if the best players are always leaving? Like what's your mindset here for the community of San Antonio with the roster?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first and foremost, we want players that are already connected to our area and our region, right? So you can see we've signed guys out of UIW, we've signed guys out of UTSA. Some of the guys that we're signing or guys that I watched as a football fan, and now I had the opportunity to have them part of the team that I'm part owner in and managing partner of and all that. And it's just cool to be able to talk to those guys and see their mindset and their work ethic and what made them successful. So yeah, the first goal is to make it as Puro San Antonio as we can. And that, we say that a lot because we mean it. This is not a Florida team in San Antonio. This is a San Antonio team in San Antonio. I think our coaches understand that as well. And I'm going to just be frank with you. If we have two players that are in all instances equal, but one of them grew up within 50 miles of San Antonio, that guy's getting the nod. And that's just it, because that's how you stay true to your roots and true to your city and true to your home. And that's how you support who's supporting you. You got to understand that these players want to play pro ball. Their mom, dad, cousin, friend, high school coach, so on and so forth, want the opportunity to see them play pro ball. And I would be foolish, or any of us would be foolish, to take a guy from Seattle, Washington over a guy from San Antonio, Texas, especially if the competitive difference between the two is slim margin. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're not forced to be regional. I can sign a guy from anywhere all over the country, especially if they have some pre-existing relationship with one of our coaches. And we've done a bunch of players like that. We got John Peterson, NFL Hall of Fame scout, helping us build our roster at this point, which, he's been the director of player personnel and for entire leagues, more or less NFL teams. And so we have a pool of players that is literally mind-boggling to me. And sometimes when we announce a signing, I don't even put any words when I repost it. I basically just put googly eyes or flames or something, because I have no words for some of the guys that are coming in here. And but it's just let the coaches do coaches thing and make sure we're getting the right guys. We've had some players that would have been even bigger signings that if we would announce were signing for us, that might have broke the internet, so to speak. But, we turned them down because there was maybe some character issues that we had heard about. Professional football, the world of professional football is built on nothing but relationships and who you know, and you do something, everybody finds out about it real quick. And then when you got the quality and level of coaches that we have, and John Peterson, who literally knows someone from every professional football team in this country, whether it's NFL or AFL or IFL or whatever, he knows somebody on all of those staffs. And so it's just like, you know, it's a small world and relationships matter. But yeah, that's a long-winded answer to say we're going to try to keep it as true to San Antonio as we can and make sure that the right guys come in and let our coaches and the football gurus do football things. And myself and Ace and Rob and James, we're going to stick behind the scenes as much as possible. Of course, we have to be out in the public a little bit, but we're going to stick behind the scenes as much as possible and make sure that our organization is being administered and ran properly so that those players will come in and know that we're not fly by night. We're a professionally ran sports organization here in San Antonio, Texas. And believe me, the players know it by day 2 of being involved with us.
That's awesome. Alex, you got anything else on the roster before we hear from Complete Care?
Not so much from the roster, but quickly to sort of piggyback off that sort of the pure San Antonio and really, digging into the community, like you've mentioned a couple times before, is huge. Because I think about, Webb, your question's fair about the turnover on the roster and the challenge, that you face in terms of building those, stars that you see year after year. But think Hershey Bears. The Bears have been in the AHL. They've been up here for 100 years, and people in this area get excited about the Bears. And it doesn't matter who's playing for the Bears. That roster's turned over, 1,500 times. But it's the experience of the bond with the community. It's the Hershey Bears. And I think it can be the same thing with the San Antonio Toros.
Fair enough. All right, when we come back after a message from Complete Care, we'll wrap it up, and we'll talk to Josh about vision and legacy right here on Toro Talk.
When it comes to performance, one thing is true. You can't do your best unless you're feeling your best. Whether you're crushing it in the classroom to ace a test or pushing hard for that extra point, you have no time for downtime. So if you get sidelined by sickness or injury, just remember Complete Care. We have 3 convenient San Antonio locations, and we're open 24/7 to diagnose and treat you quickly. With X-ray, CAT scan, ultrasound, and on-site lab, we'll get you back in the game. Know where to go. Complete Care.
Thank you to Complete Care, a partner of the San Antonio Toros. All right, Josh.
Hey, Webb, real quick, I almost want to get hurt so I can go see those guys.
They'll take care of you for sure.
Do you think you're going to get hurt from the tattoo right above the lower back?
Yeah, I may need them give me some painkillers after that one, but
all right. So let's look towards the future, vision and legacy here. Obviously, Josh, you and your partners want to make a legacy in just like the San Antonio Toros from the original Continental Football League, where like 100 years from now, 50 years or however old Alex is, that like they'll be part of the community and everyone will talk about the San Antonio Toros. So 5 years from now, we're sitting here 5 years, we're still doing this podcast. Alex is probably collecting Social Security. What's one milestone that the Toros have reached in 5 years that you'll take most personal pride as the owner?
Wow, man, what a deep question. If in 5 years I'm sitting in a football stadium watching the Toros win their 5th championship, drinking a cold beer, that's the milestone that I'm working for. That's all. That's the end goal. Like, I don't know, maybe people don't believe me when I tell them, but 100%, the only goal here is professional football in San Antonio. That means fans and players and coaches have the opportunity to pursue the dream of being a professional coach or professional athlete or being a sports fan of a professional team in San Antonio. And what do I want to get out of the deal is literally just being able to sit in the stadium with everybody else and enjoy it. I go to a ton of football games a year. Everybody knows if you followed any of our podcasts, season tickets to Texas A&M for, I don't even know, over a decade now. It's been a long time. I'm a season ticket holder at UTSA. And so I go to Cowboys games every year. And I was a season ticket holder for the Brahmas and for the Commanders as well. And this is just the next team that I want to be a season ticket holder for. The only difference is I guess the title underneath it, instead of San Antonio football fan, it says managing partner, and that's it. That's all we want out of the deal. That's it.
Yeah, but stop right there for a second, Josh. That's beautiful. But, you're not just a ticket holder, buddy. You're the managing director. You guys are the ownership team. You put this together from the logo to kicking off here in a few weeks. I think you have to, again, step back a little bit when you're at the game and enjoying it and sipping on your cold beer and watching it. Without you, we don't have it. So don't lose sight of that.
Yeah, someone else would have done it. We deserve it here. Someone else would have done it. One of the guys I work for that maybe shaped me a little bit, always said, and take a captain out of a boat, the boat can still drive. You take you out of this office, this facility will still run. The Toros should be built to where if Josh Mair's not here, the team should still operate. And I'll just
Even with Alex in charge?
Even with Alex in charge, it's just to work. Jerry Jones decided to hang it up tomorrow. The Cowboys aren't going anywhere. And that's
probably better for them. Let's be honest.
No doubt. No, hey, but they did great in the draft this year. This is a different show, but we won the draft, the Cowboys, anyways. But that's the end goal, I guess, to build a strong enough organization to where it'll outlast me.
All right, beyond box scores and standings, what kind of footprint do you want the Toros to leave on the youth and the culture of the city? I know you guys were at Fiesta, but I want to know what kind of deep roots, and I know you're in the community. I just want to know how you're going to connect with the youth and the culture of the city. Like when I think San Antonio sports, I think Spurs, obviously. Like they're part of that city. How are the Toros going to be the next Spurs?
Yeah, first thing you got to do is last and get that recognition and get the support, not the support, but get the doubters on your side. Because once San Antonio supports you, they're going to support you. And so that's goal one, is to get the support. We're definitely doing everything we can do with the youth in the community. We're having a youth camp coming up here pretty quick. We're going to support everybody we can in any way we can. We might not be able to do as much as we want right now, to be perfectly honest with you, because we're trying to get to kickoff day one, and that's a huge monumental lift on our part. But as soon as we get halfway through the season, so to speak, my focus is changing from starting a football program to starting our next deal. We're going to be opening up a training facility here locally, utilizing the coaches and players that we have here to work with the youth in and around San Antonio. I just don't know of anyone else. This might be breaking news to other people, but I've already been working on this for a couple of months. It's part of our investment deck. It's everything we're telling everybody who's getting involved in the Toros. But think about this. We have a successful season. We got NFL coaches. We got professional football players. Some of our football players have been on NFL rosters. Some of them are looking for other things to do. They want to be involved with the youth. So where else will you be able to go in San Antonio, go into a facility go maybe anywhere, I don't know, go into a facility and train with professional coaches and professional players? Does your kid have aspirations to be a D1 athlete? Well, I actually have a guy on staff that does the recruiting and evaluations for D1 schools in Texas from high school to college, and that's what he does professionally. And John Peterson, he's going to be working for us too. So why would I not parlay that into the same opportunity if we win a championship? And let's say my head coach Stan Bedwell does a great job for us here. Why would I not want a European League Football Hall of Fame quarterback to not spend some time with a kid in the community that has aspirations for doing that, and you, so on and so forth. I've already talked to a bunch of my players. Some of our players and coaches are already coaching locally in San Antonio. We got Marcus Coleman, who played in the NFL for a decade plus, living and working here in San Antonio, coaching for us. Why would I not try to parlay that into something where the youth in San Antonio could take that and maybe use it to get that little edge and pursue the next generation of players to pursue their dreams? So all that's on the table. That's going to be step here in San Antonio, year-round things going, and it's just amazing all the stuff that's kind of falling into place. So yeah, we're gonna be in the community deep for a long time.
Alex, you got anything before my last question? It's my last question, and I'm going to see where Josh goes with this.
No, not off of that one. I just love to see the involvement with the kids because they're your future fans. That's your future fan base.
There you go. All right, Josh.
And players.
We're going to talk.
What's that? That's right. And players.
Yeah, future fans and players. What the heck? Let's go.
There you go. All right. We're going to talk hard lessons here. Right. We're going to wrap it up on this. What's the most expensive or difficult lesson you've learned about the reality of sports ownership that you wish you knew before you signed the paperwork and took over control?
I'm going to give it to you straight, boys. I'm going to give it to you straight. I learned a lot over the last few months. And I've worked with, let's say, sponsorship and partnership in other realms. I've sponsored things. I've been partners. I've been with the other organizations.
Bangers.
Yeah, I've done things, man. And it's a little different when you start talking big numbers. And when I say big numbers, I'm not talking about a $5, $10, or a $20,000 sponsor. I'm talking a $50, a $75, and $100,000 sponsor. Okay, big numbers. When you start talking big numbers, one of the things that was a complete shock to me, and I don't know why I didn't realize it, but they don't give you all that money right away. Okay, you gotta do your part. They do their part, so on and so forth. So I had an epiphany a few months ago because I was being told by my client relations person, I got this partner coming in at this amount, this partner in at this amount, it's coming in on this date, so on and so forth. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be great. Like, it is great. It's all great. Don't get me wrong. But I learned and had to adjust on the exact timing when those things were going to hit. And then I had like an epiphany. I was watching like a regular football game, and I'm like, Miller Lite, the sponsor for the Dallas Cowboys, right? The beer of the Cowboys. Miller Lite doesn't pay the Cowboys $1 million, whatever their partnership package is, right off the rip. It's in stages, and it's structured, and it's based upon activity Y on date X, and so on and so forth. Now, us as a professional organization, we have to deliver and talk about and have our partners like Complete Care and South Texas Spinal Surgical featured all the time. And that's what we are giving as what they want. And then we are structuring stuff to come through in a periodic basis. And maybe I was naive, or maybe it was, but I had never dealt with that type of deal before. So as a team president, managing partner, I had to learn that. Then the other thing is equipment. The equipment for these guys, and I've all it's expensive. Don't get me wrong. You think about how it is expensive, but the lead time, the design, and all of the logistics behind it, and also paying for it, to be honest with you, there's some of those the timelines are tight, and I wish we would have known and been a little bit more prepared for it. It's the first time I've done this, so yeah, those are the two things I learned. Lead time on things and is a lot. So it takes a long time to get your stuff. Is basically the short answer to both of those questions. It takes a long time to get the stuff that I need to field a football team.
There you go. All right, Josh. Well, thank you for coming on. This is really important to us because we wanted to hear from your mouth. I know you've been on other podcasts, but here for the official podcast of the San Antonio Toros, it's important to talk to the community and the fans. And I also wanted to give you a highlight because, like I said at the beginning of the show, you're super transparent. I don't know what your Twitter handle is right now because you've changed it since the last time I knew about it. But what is it? So everyone can follow you.
It's still at SA Snap Count. So I still own that portion of the media company. If you guys also want some of the written media that comes along with the Toros, I have basically 2 different writers there and a chief editor running SA Snap Count now, and there's stuff on there too. But yeah, it's still my handle, and I don't run any of the team socials. You guys know that's falls into Ace's wheelhouse. So if you want a message from the team president, Josh Mair at SA Snap Count. That's the only social media handle that I run. So no credit for any of the other posts. None. I don't do that.
Well, thank you for coming on, Alex. You got anything else for Josh before we let him go? Because he's a busy man. He's working the phone lines. He's got a super gen, right? He's got a super gen working him.
That's who y'all need to have on the podcast next, a super gen. Y'all tell me what.
Well, you kind of intimidated me right now. Like, she's on top of it. Like if she knows more than look who I'm working with. Like I'm not going to get any help from the other side.
I was going to say,
halfway through the podcast, it'll go from you interviewing her to her interviewing you. I promise.
Webb, if their knuckles are dragging the ground, you're overmatched. So what are you going to say about that?
Fair enough. Once again, thank you to South Texas Spine and Surgical Hospital, Complete Care, and all of the generous partnerships that Josh has been able to find and his team has been able to find to support these Toros. 30 days left. When we're filming this, it's probably less when it comes out. It's coming fast, Josh, and we're rooting for you. Have you guys announced where the games are going to be broadcast?
Well, that's a great question. It's gonna definitely be free to watch. There's no paywall. I have a meeting. Let's see, we're recording this in full transparency on a Saturday, so I have a meeting in 6 days with a local affiliate that has expressed a high level of interest in being a partner of ours. So we'll probably see how that works out. And I would tell you the league-wide broadcast deal is pretty much a done deal. I just haven't been given the green light to tell anybody about it, but I had a little bit of, talks on that. We did have some different ideas back and forth, but let's just say that the people that are doing it have been involved with broadcasting other large sporting events, like maybe March Madness or something. So just go with that and wait for it to be announced.
That's awesome. That's great.
It's not a TV network. Nobody's come in here and be like, oh, CBS. No, okay, it's an app. So just so you know, it's a streaming app.
Oh, so we're not going to see Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Shaq and Ernie Johnson?
No. See, Charles Barkley doesn't quite have the relationship with San Antonio that we're looking to we're looking to promote. We would take Shaq though. Everybody loves Shaq down. Shaq went to high school down here.
Yeah,
so
Shaq's from All right. Thank you, Josh, Alex Allman, Brian Webster. This is Toro Talk. Alex, you want to close it out?
Yeah, congratulations, Josh. It's going to be a fun ride. And until our next visit, so long, everybody.